Once we get in this house, you go to your room and stay there until I tell you can come out. Do you hear me? Nah, I don't want to hear it. Your grandma made us a delicious casserole for Uncle Paul's birthday. The least you could have done was try it. I don't care if you didn't like it. You don't scream, yucky, and then push it off the table like some spoiled brat. You know what? Now you're grounded. I am tired of your attitude. Get out of the car before I lose my shit.
Anyways, he was supposed to do this with me, but since, that happened, I guess I'm doing it on my own today. So, last time we took a look at the lore and backstory of a few characters in the Mario universe, but it obviously doesn't end there. Today, I want to take a look at the places these characters live, as well as where they've traveled to, and see what kind of lore we can pull from the locations themselves. I wonder if alcohol will make me think I'm a good parent. Over the years, the Mushroom Kingdom has grown to become a household name when it comes to the Mario franchise, with its most prominent landmark being the legendary Peach's Castle. But what all is known about this kingdom and everything surrounding it? How deep does the Mushroom Kingdom's lore go? Welcome to episode 2 of a series diving as deep as we can into the lore and backstory of the Mario universe. This episode will cover the Mushroom Kingdom itself, along with a few of its neighboring territories and worlds. Now, the topics I cover today do lean a little bit more into theory territory than last time, with some liberties being taken and conclusions being drawn based on the small amount of information that we actually have about these locations. But I still believe it's interesting nonetheless. Let's talk about it. Before we start, I also want to discuss a new addition I'd like to use going forward in this series. Sometimes the material I pull lore from is not exactly the most canon piece of media, with some Mario material from back in the 90s especially having very little or sometimes zero supervision or review from Nintendo before it was published. Obviously, they are far more strict about that nowadays, but stuff still slips through the cracks sometimes. Because of this small icon will briefly appear in the bottom left whenever the material I am covering is, let's say, a little out of left field. The reason I'm still covering them is because, they can still be plenty interesting and entertaining to talk about, even if it isn't the most accurate information. With that said though, let's get started. The physical location of the Mushroom Kingdom in relation to our reality, or rather the world encompassing it, is only mentioned once, and that is within a series of books known as the Nintendo Adventure Books. In the entry titled Leaping Lizards, it is stated that the Mushroom Kingdom is actually located deep under the surface of the Earth, seemingly so far that no human can feasibly access it. However, it is said that the Mario Brothers can reach the kingdom through a series of pipes located in Brooklyn, New York. Keep in mind that this was back when Nintendo still used the narrative of the brothers being plumbers from Brooklyn and played off the concept quite often. Because it's not exactly the most appealing or exciting origin story for a hero, it isn't really used at all anymore. The notion of these pipes leading to the center of the Earth is quite interesting though, since it would suggest that the deepest insides of our planet has its own atmosphere and that the temperature starts to regulate at a certain depth, which are both completely implausible in reality, but this is a video game we're talking about here, so who knows. If we did want to be at least the slightest bit more realistic though, if you even want to call it that, it makes more sense that some sort of entrance or portal to the Mushroom Kingdom is located deep within this aforementioned series of pipes. If there is a theoretical entrance within our reality, it would simply be a path to a different reality, in this case being the Mushroom Kingdom, but going any further into that would be far too complicated for the scope of this discussion.
Can I help you? You like Mario, right? I mean, sure, it's pretty fun.
Okay, let me tell you how Einstein's theory of relativity directly contradicts with the idea and concept of the Mushroom Kingdom.
Huh?
You see, the weight of an entirely separate reality located exclusively within the core of our Earth would, at least according to this theory, have a high probability of generating a black hole.
According to the Mario Wiki, the entire landmass that is considered the Mushroom Kingdom, unofficially known as the Mushroom Continent, which according to Mario Odyssey is in the shape of a mushroom, is completely governed by Princess Peach herself. This most likely isn't actually true, but I'll get into that later. The capital of the Mushroom Kingdom, which is pretty obvious, is Toad Town. This town doesn't appear in every game, but when it is always located within a short vicinity of the castle. Additionally, as most people already know, the Toads are common citizens of the Mushroom Kingdom, and are actually often appointed guards of Princess Peach, which is probably why she gets kidnapped so often. What many people don't know, however, is that the Toad houses, at least according to the Mario Wiki, are not just places where Toads happen to live. Most of them are actually outposts commissioned and staffed by the princess herself in order to help Mario. This would explain why in some cases, the final world of the game, which usually takes place outside of the Mushroom Kingdom in the Koopa Kingdom, doesn't have any Toad houses. It was either too dangerous or simply not possible to get one set up in the treacherous final world. Granted, there are exceptions to this, but when are there not?
Sir, do you really think we should be setting up outposts near an active volcano? The princess told us to do this, so we're doing what she says. Plus, this will be helpful to Mario if she ever happens to get kidnapped again. But what if lava gets near the house? It could catch on fire. We are helping Mario! Shut the hell up and work!
Another interesting observation I made about the fact that Peach governs more than just the small area surrounding the castle is that she is also governing all of the other quote-unquote biomes of the Mushroom Kingdom, which explains how she's able to plant Toad houses just about anywhere she wants. These biomes would include the common world themes you see, such as desert, snow, beach, jungle, mountain, clouds, the usual. Basically everything you see on the world map for a New Super Mario Bros. U. What's even more interesting about this is the fact that, based on the map in Odyssey, the Mushroom Kingdom is only a small part of the entire Mario world. This tiny mushroom-shaped island is where the majority of mainline Mario games take place. On top of the various other kingdoms found in Odyssey, this world could contain Dinosaur Land, the Bean Bean Kingdom, Isle Delfino, as I've mentioned before as possibly being in quite close proximity to the Mushroom Kingdom, Yoshi's Island, Sarasa Land, etc., etc. The sheer scale of this planet in comparison to the size of the Mushroom Kingdom could leave plenty of room for every other location that the Mario games have ever taken place in. We'll dive a little bit deeper into this at the end. One of the more unique qualities of the Mushroom Kingdom is the presence of eyes on many elements of the landscape. Sometimes it's the clouds, sometimes it's the hills in the background. It can really be applied to anything. However, the eyes on these seemingly jubilant background decorations may have a darker truth than you think. The original Super Mario Bros. Instruction manual states that the conflict of the game started when Bowser used his black magic to turn the people of the Mushroom Kingdom into mere stones, bricks, and even field horsehair plants, which are actually the tree-looking background objects you see in-game.
Sir, please, help me!
Who said that?
They turned me into a roll of toilet paper! It's horrible! Is there any way you can help?
Wait, you're the toilet paper?
Yes, I know. It's so embarrassing, but I'm desperate at this point.
Okay.
Oh, thank you so much.
Wait a minute. You sound just like that guy that cut in front of me at Chipotle today.
Huh? I don't know what you're talking about, man.
No, you really think I'm gonna let you get away with this? I was f***ing hungry.
Wait, we can talk about this.
Shut up! Oh, yeah! How's that burrito taste now, bitch? Huh? Yeah!
Along with the casting of this magic, he obviously also captures Princess Peach. If you remember from the last episode, Peach was able to use her white magic to keep her clothes clean even while trapped in Bowser's dungeon. But remember how I also mentioned that there was another use for this magic? Well, conveniently enough, this white magic is the only way these cursed Mushroom Kingdom citizens can be transformed back to their normal selves. Ignoring the fact that he destroys the bricks and probably kills whoever was trapped inside, this is the big incentive that Mario has to save her that many people aren't aware of, and why Bowser captures her in the first place. Though I will admit that this specific piece of lore is one of the more commonly known tidbits. It does go deeper though, bear with me here. Super Mario Bros. 2 in Japan, also known as Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels in the United States, is described as taking place in a quote parallel world to the original. This piece of information, at least as far as I could find, is only stated in one singular place on the internet, and that is on the Virtual Console page for Super Mario Bros. 2 on the Japanese Nintendo website. Now, why does this matter in this conversation? Well, since this is a parallel world, it's obviously going to contain many similarities to its counterpart, of which it obviously does. But one of these is also the story of the game, which is an exact replica of the first, except for one key difference. You may not notice it at first, but Bowser's black magic behaves a bit differently this time around. Many of the transformed citizens now have eyes and sometimes even mouths. We didn't know if the citizens were sentient before, but they sure as hell are now.
Oh, they're sentient, alright.
With this information, I'd say we can safely assume that all of the other times decorational elements appear with eyes in other games, they are also affected by this same magic. At this point, it all becomes far more dark. You can even go as far as to say that the citizens trapped inside of these objects are stuck in a sort of perpetual torment until Peach is able to free them with her magic. Heck, in Super Mario World, one of them gets hit by an entire castle and bandages up before you move on to the next world. It makes Bowser's plan seem even more sinister than it already was. Another thing I noticed that kind of solidified this for me was the fact that in both mainline games where Peach is a playable character, that being 2 and 3D World, eyes are never present on any decorational objects. Even though this black and white magic is never mentioned again in later entries, I truly believe that these observations confirm that it continued far beyond the first game. Or maybe it's just a coincidence. I don't know. Another commonly known piece of Mario lore is the fact that Super Mario Bros. 3 actually isn't a real adventure for Mario. Miyamoto himself has confirmed that the game entirely takes place as a stage play. Heck, the game starts with curtains rising and ends with curtains falling in front of the screen. Even further, and not many people know about this, but the instruction manual for the game calls levels action scenes, stating you have to clear them to advance on the map. Now, that's a cool fact and all, but there are a few implications with this information that I want to take a look at. First off, the setting of Super Mario Bros. 3 is referred to as the Mushroom World. This includes the 8 different countries the player travels to throughout the game, and each country is ruled by a king who is cursed and turned into a random enemy. But we'll talk about the kings themselves in a bit. Let's just focus on the world right now. Once again, in the instruction manual for the game, the Mushroom World is said to be accessed through an entrance that forms in the Mushroom Kingdom. The Koopalings presumably take this entrance to steal the magic wands from each of the kings, thus causing the conflict of the game. Peach doesn't even get captured until right after you save the last king, which leads to World 8 where Bowser awaits. Now, the idea of this entrance from the Mushroom Kingdom forming that leads to the Mushroom World is a simple concept at face value, but since we know that this game is a stage play, I'd say that there really isn't an entrance to this Mushroom World at all, at least physically. This Mushroom World doesn't exist. This entrance statement is merely a metaphor for the fictional world they created during the conception of this play. Now, sometimes the term Mushroom World is used interchangeably with Mushroom Kingdom when it's mentioned in other places, but it's mostly agreed upon that this is simply an error in translation between regions. The only time when it is truly referred to as the Mushroom World is in this game, and this game only. This world is never mentioned again after the events of Super Mario Bros. 3, so the fact that it could simply be a fabrication and a fictional story located within another fictional story is both confusing and fascinating. But I can't help but ask why. Why would Mario, Bowser, and even Peach agree to act together in a play that in a way retells the traumatic events that they experienced? After all, there's no indication of Mario creating a positive relationship with Bowser after the events of the first game, and in the second, well, he's technically just sleeping the whole time, with Bowser nowhere to be found. For all we know, they are still at odds, and whatever incentive Bowser had to kidnap the princess and transform the citizens before, that being most likely world domination, he still has now. So why would they voluntarily act alongside each other in this play? I can't imagine it would go well if two people were in a play together and one of them hated the other.
Now I'm gonna stab you. Cut! What was wrong with that? I am gonna need a lot more from you. Put some energy and passion into it, please. I mean, just look at him. He did amazing, and he's still going just for good measure. Oh, I'm not acting. Call an ambulance. What? Did you actually stab him?
Yeah, what else was I supposed to do?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe pretend to stab him because this isn't real?
Okay, I forgot. My bad.
You're bad? That's what you say when you bump into somebody on the sidewalk, not when you f***ing stab them! I forgot! Can't a guy make a simple mistake every once in a while? Jeez. Oh, I can't believe this. Also, who the hell switched out a prop knife with a real one?
It doesn't help that the story of Super Mario Bros. 3 doesn't make that much sense in the first place. According to the instruction booklet, Bowser sent the Koopalings into the Mushroom World to, quote, make mischief as they please, as if he was sending them off to play on the slides at the park. Their objective wasn't even to steal the wands, that was just a byproduct of their mischief making. Mario's main reason for traveling to the Mushroom World was to transform these kings back to their normal selves, but even the significance of this world to Mario is never explained. I guess he just loves putting his life on the line for people he doesn't know. So, with all that said, consider this. What if every single Mario game after the first, and technically second, is staged? After Mario saves Peach for the first time, for some reason him and Bowser make up and everything works out great. Later down the line, they decide to star alongside each other in a production that tells a brand new story in the same style of their original adventure. This could definitely explain the interactions within every Mario spin-off game that followed, like Mario Kart and any of the Mario sports titles, wherein Mario and Bowser don't seem to have any conflict other than the typical rivalry between opposing teams. It's also worth noting that Bowser and Mario work alongside each other multiple times in the Paper Mario and Mario Luigi games, as well as in Super Mario RPG, although he is still sort of an asshole to him in these scenarios anyway. Maybe it's just tough love. Regardless, I'd honestly say that this makes it clear that they reached at least some sort of resolution, even if this stupid theory isn't true. Want more evidence? Sure. Take a look at Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. From the very beginning of the game, we see curtains. In addition, transitioning between areas is often curtains flying back and forth across the screen. While you're in battle, a literal audience of people watches you during the fight, and you are rewarded for pleasing the audience with good combat and stylish moves. On top of that, the original Paper Mario was presented as a storybook and actually called Mario Story in Japan. Not exactly a stage play, but still a work of fiction nonetheless. Then again though, these stage play elements aren't really present in most other games, so this theory seems extremely unlikely to me apart from those two reasons I mentioned, which still aren't the best, but I still thought it was something interesting to think about nonetheless. But wait, I have even more evidence! At the end of every stage in the new Super Mario Bros. Games, Mario faces the camera and breaks the fourth wall, staring directly at it while doing his stupid little dance. That's it. Now I'm convinced. Returning back to the Kings, another thing I noticed about Super Mario Bros. 3 was that in the Super Nintendo and Game Boy Advance versions of the game, some of the Kings are transformed into numerous different enemies from Super Mario Bros. 2. Now, if you remember, Subcon, the world from which these enemies come from, is seemingly only a figment of Mario's imagination. So, how could they be appearing in the Mushroom World? Well, if we remove the possibility of them being paid actors in costumes participating in a stage play, and consider the story by itself, then there could be another explanation. So, you know how I said Subcon was a figment of Mario's imagination? Well, that's what you would assume considering he dreamt about it, but it seems that it's actually some sort of separate dimension. I hate to reference yet another instruction manual because it seems like that's all I've done today, but the manual for Super Mario Bros. 2 cites Subcon as the Land of Dreams. Additionally, Mario's companions in this game, Luigi, Toad, and Peach, all report having the same exact dream as Mario. Now, this manual does cite Mario waking up and discussing the dream with these people before actually entering the world of Subcon and acting out the events of the game, but I think it becomes pretty obvious that he somehow had a dream within a dream at the end of the game when it's revealed that the events of the entire adventure all took place while Mario was asleep. Though this is still really confusing to me. He may have gone back to sleep to enter the dream world, but it says that after he woke up the first time he found the same stairway he saw in the initial dream and then climbed it to enter Subcon. I honestly have no idea. Either way, Subcon is definitely some sort of separate realm or dimension, so the point I'm about to make still stands. Anyways, the fact that this is essentially another dimension as opposed to just something Mario dreamt up could suggest a reason why enemies from Subcon are showing up in Super Mario Bros. 3. What if the magic wands that the Koopalings steal and use against the kings have the ability to swap matter between dimensions? So instead of simply transforming them, what they are actually doing is swapping the king's physical body with an enemy from Subcon. For all we know, the king's body could be occupied by some random enemy in Subcon all the way up until we get their corresponding wand back.
What kind of place is this?
This makes even more sense when you take a look at the other kings that were transformed into inhabitants that weren't from Subcon. We have a Dino, Rhino, and Monty Mole from Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Jr., and Yoshi. These kings would have been swapped with the enemies, and sometimes characters of their respective dimensions in this case as well. Also, remember how I mentioned that these specific transformations only appear in the Super Nintendo and Game Boy Advance versions? Well, the original NES release has a completely different set of king transformations, but at least one of them still directly supports this theory. The king of the first world is transformed into the dog from Duck Hunt, for some reason. Finally, let's return to the discussion of the Mushroom Continent. Like I said before, it's very unlikely that Peach actually governs this entire continent, as there are quite a few locations that are actually mentioned to share borders with the Mushroom Kingdom in the games themselves. It's likely that this kingdom takes up only a portion of the entire landmass. Let's start a map to keep this all straight. The first indicator of this is the fact that the Koopa Kingdom, ruled by Bowser, directly neighbors the Mushroom Kingdom. The Koopa Kingdom is most commonly recognized by its volcanic appearance, but also has areas of desert wastelands as well as icy landscapes deep below the surface of the area. The Mushroom Kingdom itself seemingly sprawls across the continent in numerous directions, but Peach's castle is located just about smack dab in the middle. This general area is where the events of the original Paper Mario, Sticker Star, and Origami King take place, along with Super Mario 64, Super Mario RPG, the beginning of Mario Galaxy 1, 2, and 3D World, and probably quite a few others that I'm missing. Additionally, the castle itself appears in numerous spin-off titles and is obviously, as I already mentioned, visited at the end of Super Mario Odyssey. The reason we know the location of the Koopa Kingdom, more specifically being east of the Mushroom Kingdom, is based on two separate pieces of evidence. First, the map of Bowser's Inside Story shows Bowser's Castle, the capital of the Koopa Kingdom, sitting east of Peach's Castle, which is one surefire indicator of its location. Additionally, in many of the 2D games, we can approximate the location of the Koopa Kingdom based on the direction the player travels through each world. The end of each world almost always has Mario running eastward, and a few have him traveling a bit further north before continuing to the east. In turn, the last world will be located directly east or slightly northeast of the Mushroom Kingdom. Because of this, 3 of the new Super Mario Bros. Games, that being DS, Wii, and 2, are assumed to take place directly east of Peach's castle, but are obviously still part of the Mushroom Kingdom territory. Additionally, it can also probably be assumed that much of Bowser's Inside Story and Paper Jam take place in this area as well, as the geography is somewhat similar. Directly west of Peach's castle are the worlds in which New Super Mario Bros. U takes place. Because of their size in relation to the castle on the map from that game, they would technically take up a huge amount of space on the Mushroom Continent. I don't think that they're actually this big, but nothing else really seems to be on this side anyway as far as I know, so we'll just roll with it. South of the Mushroom Kingdom lies the Bean Bean Kingdom, which is only visited in Superstar Saga and also referenced a couple times by Bean Bean citizens traveling to Pillow Island in Dream Team. Superstar Saga begins with Mario and Luigi falling out of Bowser's ship in the sky after a battle with Fawful. They crash land in the northeast corner of Stardust Fields, after which they pass through a checkpoint that separates the Mushroom Kingdom's territory from the Bean Bean Kingdom's territory. This essentially establishes the Bean Bean Kingdom as sharing its northern border with the Mushroom Kingdom, which likely puts it at the southern edge of the continent because of the fact that the land eventually turns to ocean towards the bottom of the map in Superstar Saga. This specific expanse of water is known as the Oho Ocean. Pillow Island, as I already mentioned, is the location the brothers travel to during the events of Mario and Luigi Dream Team. I'd venture to guess that the location of Pillow Island is at least somewhat near the Bean Bean Kingdom because of the fact that their citizens actually traveled from there to Pillow Island, but the exact location in relation to anywhere else is never directly stated. It's possible that it may be part of the Sunshine Archipelago, which lies just northwest of the main continent and contains Isle Delfino along with a few other smaller islands, but that would mean the citizens of the Bean Bean Kingdom would be making quite the trip getting up there from their homeland, considering it's almost on the complete opposite side of the continent in relation to Pillow Island. Speaking of random landmasses that I can't seem to pinpoint locations for, let's return to the Paper Mario series. First off, the setting for Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door is first visited by Princess Peach when she arrives in its main town, Rogueport, on a cruise. There, she meets a hooded woman who gives her a box containing a mysterious map. Peach then invites Mario to Rogueport to help her find the treasure from the map. It is never stated where Rogueport or any other location in the immediate vicinity is in relation to the Mushroom Kingdom, so I have no idea here. The fandom Mario Wiki cites it as being part of the Mushroom Kingdom, but I couldn't find an exact source for this information, so at least to me, the real location of Rogueport and its surrounding area is unknown. The same goes for Prism Island, the setting of Paper Mario Color Splash. This huge island's location is never directly stated either. With locations like these, I like to think they are located at least somewhere on the planet from Odyssey. Like I mentioned earlier, in relation to the Mushroom Continent, the planet is huge, and since the majority of games take place on the Mushroom Continent, who knows what else fits on this huge space ball.
Did somebody say Spaceballs?
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
You know, I've been meaning to get into Spaceballs. How are they? Big and sweaty and hairy. Seems like it'd be right up my alley.
You may have noticed that the entire northern portion of the Mushroom Continent is still completely empty, and that is because I simply could not find any substantial evidence of anything being located north of the Mushroom Kingdom. Now, I very well may have missed something, granted there is tons of information from decades of games and media to sift through, so missing, say, a singular text box deep into a game that I'm not super familiar with is definitely possible. Regardless, many have speculated that the northern portion of the Mushroom Continent houses a mountain range, containing places like Tall Tall Mountain from Super Mario 64. But like I said, as far as I could tell, this is purely speculation. If you haven't figured it out by now, the entire geography here is extremely inconsistent and vague. It's obvious that they never really put much thought into keeping it consistent across the series. But here I am looking like a dumbass trying to give everything a place anyway. Let's stay on the topic of Paper Mario for just a bit longer though, because one specific detail in Mario and Luigi Paper Jam may flip quite a few of these locations on their head. The story of this game begins with Luigi and a Toad heading up into the attic of Peach's castle to look for the location of a draft in the ceiling. Luigi, in usual fashion, gets scared by a rat and then ends up sneezing from the dust that resulted from the ruckus. His earth-shaking sneeze throws him back and he knocks over a bookshelf, throwing a special book off the shelf that ends up spewing tons of Paper Mario characters all over the Mushroom Kingdom. Later on, both the paper and regular versions of Princess Peach have a conversation and acknowledge the fact that the paper world is actually a separate dimension from the regular one. Because of this information, every single location used in the Paper Mario games is now wiped off the map and placed in an entirely separate dimension. In this world, we don't even know if the Mushroom Continent is mushroom-shaped or if it even exists at all. It's clear that the paper world has many counterparts to their real-world appearances. I mean, that's proven simply by the fact that Peach's castle appears in quite a few of them, but now we know that it's not all the same. It's kind of odd to me how this book was just chilling up in the attic of Peach's castle. The princess seems just as clueless as everyone else when the paper characters are released. So who put this book here? Did they trap the paper world inside of it themselves, or did the paper citizens simply go about their life as normal inside of this book? Or could the events of every single Paper Mario game actually be fictional stories within the Mario universe written by some unnamed person and placed inside this book? It would definitely explain the storybook aesthetic of the first game, stage play aesthetic of the second, the unfolding and tracing of the environment of the third, and overall papercraft look of every game that followed it. Even with this theory though, it still doesn't exactly make sense of how these imaginary characters have come alive and invaded the world in this way. I guess you could chalk that up to video game magic as a plot device, but who knows? There are still many unanswered questions, but I guess those will have to wait for another time. As you have probably already realized, everything about the Mushroom Kingdom and everything surrounding it is spotty, whether that be literally in the locations and geography, or figuratively in how things came to be the way they are. We had to reach quite a bit in our explanations and conspiracy theorize a bit, but that's all part of the fun, isn't it? As per usual, there is still plenty more to cover in the sphere of the Mario universe and its lore, but for now, that's all I'll leave you with.
I know I did not just hear that door open. I don't know if you're ready to come out. You really hurt Grandma's feelings, and you still don't seem to care about it.
Nah, I don't want to hear any of that whiny voice. Nah, zip it! If you really want out, I can call Grandma on the phone, and you can apologize to her. I'm sorry, but that's the only way you're getting out of there. You need to learn to be more polite. That's it! I'm getting your father!